Hi, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Bison Video Blog with Jeff Kolpack. I'm Izzo. North Dakota State returns home after a humbling loss to the University of North Dakota. They'll welcome in the Leathernecks of Western Illinois. Last time we get to see WIU in the football schedule, at least for the time being, as they move out of the Missouri Valley and into the Ohio Valley Conference. We'll get to the Leathernecks. Almost seem like an afterthought this week, Jeff, after what happened Saturday in Grand Forks. We just got back from Matt Entz's press conference where we figured it would be brief. It was kind of light on the updates on some injured players, which we'll get to in a bit. But give me your sense of what we just got back from Entz's press conference.
Well, the sun came up. Well, no, those are the lights, aren't they?
For some, the sun did not come out today.
Yeah, it's been a couple days.
In the darkness.
What do we take from this? I don't know. I mean, here's a guy who obviously he's talked about the Sunday coaches meeting, and I'm sure it wasn't pleasant to what they had to say. Everything's on the table. We talked about that this morning on your show, and I got the sense that, yes, everything is on the table. He mentioned some younger players. We'll see if they play, talking about some true freshmen. I've heard that before where you mentioned players, but overall sense of, if the loss to South Dakota was sort of a wake-up call, you can maybe dismiss it as saying, oh, that just doesn't happen. This was humbling. Mm-hmm. I mean, this was humbling.
It was a beatdown from start to finish is how the game played out.
And I feel like, and I feel like when you think about how they played, as long as we're on the subject, there just wasn't that urgency. No. And I asked about, was the effort there? And in his film review, I talked about Matt Entz. He said, yeah, he thought his effort was there. I don't know. I'm not so sure if the effort was there or not.
I asked about preparation, because now this is 2 out of the last 3 weeks. They have been unprepared to start the football game, and he said we're doing the same that we're always doing, but maybe that needs to be changed as well. I think everything should be considered for how they played. I agree with you. I think that was maybe some effort that needs to potentially, but and if that's a thing, then maybe we're playing somebody else. I don't know on that. I personally, preparation's a thing, Kolpack, because Entz alluded to it right after that, because he said the team did not respond after falling behind after the Skokna kickoff, that it was lights out, and it's simple as it gets. The times that NDSU scores first, they're 4-0. When they don't, they're 0-2.
And he addressed that too. And he said, well, that's an issue now. If you don't respond to being down 7-0, well, they did come back for a touchdown, but you get the sense that the lightning already struck, and UND just had a little more determination, I want to say, to its game.
There was some juice there. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And that to me was enlightening on that part. And this to me rings true of the 2010 team. We didn't know then, obviously, what was to come, but that 2010 team was 4-2, and they're in the middle part of the season. They actually dropped to 4-3. It's the last time the Bison lost multiple conference games. You have to go all the way back to that season, and they were still trying to figure things out. It seems to me there's a lot of similarities to that team, but that team didn't have the kind of veteran presence that the 2023 team does. Well,
again, now is it a talent issue? And the head coach was asked that. Is this a talent problem? If it's not effort, it's not this. Is it preparation?
If it's not preparation, then what are we left with?
Well, but he didn't discount preparation, obviously.
Correct.
So, and so that's where you start. Yep. But okay, you got to be careful now. You can't just pulp this team into submission either. I mean, when things are going bad, this is where the coaches make their money. Yeah. Because you could be critical all you want, but you also can't be too critical, if that makes sense. I mean, you also got to have these guys get ready to pump up, and as the week goes along, you got to make sure your team's ready to play and be up on Saturday and not like still questioning what happened on last Saturday. Today, on Monday, is a huge day. Yep. This is huge. You gotta figure some things out. You gotta address the issues, and then you move forward.
Nip this in the bud now. Yeah. Let me ask you this before we move on to individual players. What's your gut tell you that we see some lineup changes? Percentage-wise.
I don't know. I would. I mean,
I would too. I'd shake it up for the next 2 weeks. You got an absolute opportunity to do that.
This ain't intramurals, Dom, as we quoted Dan Hawkins. It's Division I football, and when things are going right, then changes. Like you said, everything's on the table, and that includes personnel changes. The head coach said as much after the UND game when he talked about what went wrong, and that was in the immediate aftermath of the loss. So obviously they had been thinking about it maybe.
I think it's 70-30, Kolpack. You're going to see some new guys at linebacker, in the secondary, Defensive line, I'm looking right there.
Looking at Najee Nelson,
Yeah.
true freshman corner from Lakeville. You're looking at
Jalen Duffy's a linebacker from Illinois. Jalen Crumby, another one from Florida. I mean, Nate Staling's played a bit from Brainerd. I would play him. See what you got, right? Especially for these next two games. When you've got opponents you think you can comfortably beat, I think it's time to roll them out there and see what you got.
I would think. I mean, I'm ready to see some changes as far as if these young guys can play or not. I mean, we've heard all about these recruiting stars and they're going head to head with FBS guys. Well, let's see them.
Let's see it.
Yeah.
Now, they may have to make some personnel changes because of injury. Cole Wisniewski, who left the game early on Saturday with a concussion, it looked nasty as well. What Matt Entz told us earlier, he's day-to-day with a potential for him to maybe come back. Ryan Jones, the young man from Frisco, Texas, went in. He would likely start in his spot. That automatically is a big deal if Wisniewski can't play as one of your starting safeties.
Well, and then, Cole, I think, was one of the more major contributors, obviously, on defense. I don't think that he'll play for a while. You just don't mess with concussions. And, this isn't 1982 anymore when you throw the smelling salts out and go, are you ready to play? So I doubt we'll see him. I doubt we would see Ledarsic maybe.
Yeah, Ledarcic's the other guy who also got concussed.
So, I mean, you got to pass your test and your concussion test, and you got to pass it with flying colors.
The other injury is to I know he's their fourth running back, but he's played a bit, is Owen Johnson, who's done for the season with a knee injury, and it was a nasty one. He got hit right on the leg as he was carrying the ball in the third quarter of the game against UND. That, to me, is intriguing because who's the fourth guy? We know it's Tamarick Williams, it's TK Marshall, it's Barika Penu. Owen's been getting some work. Now, who's going to be the guy at the running back spot there?
That's a great question. Rajah Nelson. I mean, he's played a little running back last spring. We don't know.
Unless you're playing a true freshman, you got Kelly Watson, Jonathan Harvey are on the team. Shamar Brown is not playing as ineligible this year's redshirting, so you're left with only a couple of options there at the. And again, we still have 5 games to go in the season. There's likely going to be more injuries than not the last 5 games of the year.
But those 3 guys are plenty. If you have 3 running backs, Dom, that's plenty.
Well,
it is.
Some years it hasn't been, though. The Bison have went down to their 4th-string running back.
But as of today, do you need 5 guys going into a game?
I think Entz would sit here and tell you and say yes, because they've needed all 5 in certain seasons they have. So that's why I think this is a bigger injury than not.
I'm just assuming that nobody else will get hurt.
But if that ends up being the case, I mean, this becomes a way bigger issue going forward. Now, all that being said, here comes Western Illinois, who's not won a football game in nearly 2 years. You were rattling off the stats before we started taping. They are ranked 120th or worse in several categories. There's only 123 FCS teams here. This is a tall task for Myers Hendrickson, who's in his second year as head coach.
You know what I think? As I look at Western Illinois, this may very well be the worst FCS team to ever come to the Dome. You talk about they're 122nd in rushing offense. Okay. They're 122nd in scoring defense.
Not good.
No, you're 122nd in passing efficiency defense. That means teams are always completing stuff on you, and you're going against one of the most prolific team there as far as passing efficiency, completion percentage.
One of your favorite stats: third down defense. They're 120th, so they can't get off the field either.
Are you sure there's 122 or 123?
I think it's 123. I thought it
was 122.
Either way, they're at the bottom. This is not a good football team. So I don't know how much you can take from this, but the Bison need some good mojo here after what happened in Grand Forks on Saturday.
But you're going against a team that has nothing to lose.
That's true.
I mean,
and they got a quarterback who can wing it.
Yeah, they're coming in. They don't care. I mean, they're not going to be, if they are intimidated, be younger guys, but that no-care attitude, a carefree attitude, can sometimes be dangerous.
Matt Morrissey is a transfer from Northern Iowa and Michigan State that now is playing here at Western Illinois. And we mentioned this, and we're going to get back into this on Wednesday. You were down there, one of the first trips the Bison made to Macomb. That was a proud football team. They won in Fargo twice. I don't think people know that. 2008 and 2010.
Homecoming one year.
They came up here with Matt Barr, the great left-handed quarterback, and Herb Donaldson.
They had Jason Williams, a linebacker who was really good.
We're not even that far removed from Colin Saunders, who got drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs, won a Super Bowl last year with the Chiefs from Western.
Yeah, that's the Bison offensive line and what it was like going against that guy.
That guy was. But it is fallen off the cliff on what's happened in Macomb here over the last couple of years.
So who do we think is the worst FCS team that's ever?
Bad.
Prairie View?
Prairie View's in the conversation. They were bad for
Wagner
a while.
was not really good.
Wagner was not good. Goodness. Valpo from a couple years ago. That Valpo team was
how about
not
the
good.
first Valpo team?
I'd say the one we saw a couple years ago was pretty bad. This is a fun conversation to go down. We're going to insult some schools here, but oh, goodness.
You know, I'll write about this week.
Delaware State, remember when they came on game day?
Yeah, they were
bad.
They were swimming on Friday night before the game.
They were at the Radisson, that's right. The first Incarnate Word team.
Yeah,
Remember 2014? I mean, there was going. Eric got him on here. Mississippi Valley State.
Ooh.
Remember them? They were bad. The Bison scored 70-some points.
Dreadful.
So, there's a column for you, Kolpack, by Friday. One of the worst teams that might be coming into the Fargo Dome. But to be honest with you, I think all of the stories this week are about the Bison going forward. Real quick before we wrap up, 2 monster games this week. South Dakota State is in Carbondale. Is there any way, any chance they can get tripped up by SIU?
No.
Okay.
No.
Then
South Dakota State's not losing.
I don't think so. The
this
biggie
year
is in Cedar Falls then, between UND and Northern Iowa.
Well, I think UND goes in and wins. I think, you know, they got to put this euphoria aside.
To bed. Yep.
And Bubba Schweigert knows that,
Yep.
but will the players adhere to that? We'll see. But I also look at UNI. They got beat soundly by Weber State at home. They got beat soundly by South Dakota State in a place they usually play well in Brookings. This team, you talk about not having mojo. I think they've lost a little mojo.
If Northern Iowa loses Saturday, that's 4 losses. That's probably they're done. They still have the Bison to play at the end of the season.
Probably puts you out.
I'm looking forward now to next Saturday.
Well, plus you're behind so many Valley teams.
That game 2 weeks from now, South Dakota State at USD. Who would have thought that game would be that important?
South Dakota's 5-0.
Coyotes are
only losses to FBS number 20 ranked team.
Mizzou.
I mean, you talk about it. Okay, for NDSU, is it possible to turn around? Look at USD, 3-8 a year ago. People thought their coach should have been fired. You wondered, okay, who do they have? And man, so it's possible. It's possible. I don't know if you can do it in the same year.
Yeah, we'll find out what this Bison team has coming up on Saturday. Stories all week long from Jeff, Mike, and Big E. Of course, we'll have you covered on WDAY. Don't forget, Bison Game Day is live Saturday morning, 10 a.m. inside the Fargo Dome with a game at 2:30 between Western Illinois and North Dakota State. For Jeff Kolpack, I'm Dom Izzo. That's the latest Bison Video Blog brought to you by Gate City Bank.